Hello everyone and welcome back to Foot Forecast, and today's video I'm going to go in for my championship predictions for game week 32, and some of the games have already been played. By this recording there would have been 4 games played in the championship, so there's only 8 games to discuss. So starting off with Derby County at home to Swansea, and both sides have picked up 10 points from their last 5 games, and they've both been pretty good recently. Swansea have had a bit of a resurgence, which now means they're more looking at could they potentially finish in the playoffs. They're roaring about relegation. For Derby, they're currently in 11th place in the championship, but only a couple of points away from the playoffs. And they'll be disappointed with that result against Ipswich, but then they were fantastic away at Bristol City. And the thing about Derby is the away to home record. At home, Derby are the 20th best side, but away they are an excellent side. I do, however, think Derby may pick up a win in this game. Swansea aren't a great side away from home. They're 19th on the away table, and I just think Derby may have enough quality to get the job done. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for Derby over Swansea. So then we've got Portsmouth at home to Sheffield United, and I think Pompey will make it hard for Sheffield United in this game. Going away to Portsmouth isn't easy. Portsmouth have been a strong side at home so far this season. That's where they picked up majority of their points, but they don't have the class of a side like Sheffield United, despite Sheffield United only being a couple of places ahead of Portsmouth. And recently I've been impressed with Sheffield United. I've also actually been reasonably impressed with Portsmouth, especially at home. They were excellent in that game against West Brom at home, and they've been good in some other games. But I just think there's too much of a quality difference between these two sides. So for that reason, I'm going to go with a 2-0 away win for Sheffield United. So then we're on to the next game where Preston are taking on Watford. And it's the first game in charge for Edward Still, brother of Will Still. And he needs to turn Watford's form around quickly if they want to make the playoffs this season, because they're still in a chance of making the playoffs. But right now, it does look unlikely. Their current form is very poor. They're going up against a Preston side who aren't in great form either, and they've only won 1 game out in their last 5, and that game was against Portsmouth, and they weren't great in that game against Portsmouth. I think for this game I could see a draw between these two sides, a low scoring draw though. I'm actually going to go with a 0-0 draw between Preston and Watford. So then we've got the next game, which is between QPR and Blackburn. And if Blackburn takes something from this game, they would go above Leicester and get out of the relegation zone. Now the question is, do I see this happening? I think it is unlikely going away to QPR. Blackburn are just a poor side right now, and right now I look at them as the side that I think will be relegated, as well as Oxford and of course Sheffield Wednesday. QPR have been good at home so far this season. They're 9th on the home table, and they're currently 13th place in the championship. And at the end of the day, I just think they have too much quality for a side like Blackburn. Blackburn may have a new manager in for this game, which may give them a bit of a manager bounce. But either way, I'm going to go with the QPR win. I'm going to go with a 1-0 win for QPR over Blackburn. So then we've got Sheffield Wednesday at home to Millwall, and look, this should be a simple win for Millwall. Everyone knows the situation that Sheffield Wednesday are currently in, and it's more about when they'll be relegated. And we now know that they won't be relegated because West Brom didn't win against Birmingham for this game, but that's probably worse if you're a Wednesday fan, because now you may be potentially relegated by Sheffield United, your biggest rivals. And this should be a simple win for Millwall. I don't see any reason why they won't win this game, and it's more about how many goals do I think Millwall will put past them. I think they'll put a lot past them actually in this game. I think Millwall have got a lot of attacking quality going forward. I'm going to go with a 3-0 win for Millwall over Sheffield Wednesday, but I could see even more goals. The thing I'm most convinced about right now is the clean sheet, because Wednesday haven't scored since December, and they're on a terrible run of form, as everyone knows. So then we've got the biggest game between Cov and Borough. We've got 2nd place in the championship in Cov, and now 1st place in the championship in Middlesbrough. And the difference between the two sides right now is the form. Borough are absolutely flying in the championship. They look like the best side right now, and they just look a level ahead of every other side. In terms of Cov, they started the season so well, but all of a sudden their form's taken a real dip, and they haven't won in their last 3. And I think a lot of Coventry fans are starting to get nervous. They're probably starting to think maybe we're not going to go up, after probably thinking they were going to win the league, how well they were playing at the start of the season. and the teams below Middlesbrough and Coventry will be watching this game with a lot of interest to see who is the team that could potentially slip out of that top two. I think Middlesbrough are going to win this game. I'm going to go with a 2-1 away win for Borough. I think they're proving every week how good of a side they really are. I was so impressed by Borough going away to Bramall Lane and picking up 3 points in that game. And I think they'll pick up another 3 points away at Cov. For Coventry, I think this game's so important. I think they need to take at least a point from this game. Otherwise, Ipswich could go ahead of Cov if they win their 2 games in hand. And I worry about Cov in the playoffs. I wouldn't be that convinced they'd actually go up because of their recent form and the psychological effect of thinking that you're going up automatically to now having to go through the playoffs. So then we've got the next game, which is between Bristol City and Wrexham. And both sides have had some mixed form recently. 2 sides that will be looking to get into the playoffs. Wrexham are currently 6th place in the Championship in the final playoff position, and Bristol City are only a point behind Wrexham. And Bristol City will be desperate to win this game to close the gap on Wrexham, in fact go ahead of Wrexham. I back Wrexham though to win this game. They're a good side away from home. Wrexham, and I think they're playing quite well right now. They were unlucky to get nothing from that Millwall game. They were the better side throughout. So I'm going to go with a 1-0 away win for Wrexham. So then we've got the final game, which is between Charlton and Portsmouth, and 2 sides that are close in the table, down near to the bottom. Neither side, though, is in the relegation zone right now. And Charlton have been a really difficult side to beat at home so far this season. They don't concede a lot of goals at home, and they've only lost 4 out of their 14 games at home. So they're difficult to beat at the Valley, and I think that will be enough to get them something from this game. The question is, do I think they'll get a point or 3? I think I'm going to go with a 1-0 win for Charlton. Both sides have been alright recently. Portsmouth actually impressed me, but I think they may struggle in this game. Let me know your thoughts on these championship predictions for Game Week 32. And if you enjoyed this video, go subscribe to the YouTube channel as well as liking the video.